Hey everybody, here we have a match on the new map Stalingrad. This is based on the city of the same name, circa, I want to say September-October 1942. The area the map's actually set around is 9th of January Square, with Pavlov's house on the north-east side and Zabolotny's house on the southeast side, and the old mill to the east. It's a pretty accurate map actually. And it's also one that's a lot of fun to play, and you're about to see why. This was my first game on it. I did actually play the test when it was first added, but I never got a match of it on the test server, or at least not one that I really got a chance to do anything. And so this was my first real experience of the map. Of course, replays are still screwed. To be quite honest, I wish Wargaming would do the same thing Keen have done with Space Engineers and just forget about new content for about 2 or 3 patches and focus entirely on bug fixing, and I think this replay bug needs to be at the top of the list. It's really irritating, and for people who like to upload replays like me, it makes it really irritating. The replay system in general has a number of long-standing bugs that have never been fixed, and honestly, it just needs looking at. I'm not saying Wargaming need to implement server-side replays right now. What I'm saying is they need to unfuck the existing ones. So basically, as far as the jitteriness and the replay goes, it's beyond my control. There's nothing I can really do about it. Anyway, this KV-13 finds himself in a really bad position. He's fighting against a hull-down Centurion, and unlike me, his turret isn't going to bounce anything. This central axial road that runs down the 5 and 6 lines is an excellent early game position for a hull-down tank like a Centurion or a 4202, or even some of the Soviet mediums that are just tall enough to peek over the debris pile, because it gives you some really good early game shots and you're pretty well protected. The only thing I should note is Artie will easily hit you there, so if there's Artie you need to be careful. Now on my right, this is Pavlov's house, for those of you who have heard that name and don't really recognize it. Well actually, okay, I stand corrected. Yep, that was Pavlov's house, and then Zabolotny's house is the one to the south of it. The one to the north of it, I'm not sure. I think actually Wargaming have got this backwards, because if I recall correctly, hang on, sorry, I just need to do my little Stalingrad spurg out thing. Now, to my memory, there is a ruined apartment here. Yep, okay, that's Zabolotny's house to the far south, but it's a lot more destroyed than I'm used to. Typically the photos I've seen, Pavlov's house is not really intact, but it's still recognizable. Zabolotny's is about half destroyed, so closer to this than the little house at the far south there. For those of you who have played Red Orchestra 2, you'll certainly recognize this area, but the RO2 version of the map, all the buildings on the north side of the square were destroyed. The south side had a much larger building running along there, and I noticed Wargaming forgot to put the little chapel in the center of the square. There should be like a small sort of church chapel there. Otherwise, the mill is right where you would expect it to be. Along with most of the buildings in that complex, the mill actually seems to be done correctly. And while we're actually zoomed out this far to take a look at the layout of the map, let's take a proper look at the layout of the map. Most of the fighting tends to occur around the central square here. You can see the 2 caps are fair ways back, covered by blocks of destroyed buildings. And as you can see, the opposing axial road has the same hull-down position as my own side of the map, except obviously facing the other way. So you can get some good shots traded across there, and as you saw, I managed to actually get a nice little drop shot into the T-30's hull. As you can probably tell, there are a lot of possible paths through this map, and as you would have seen as I climbed over that barricade, if you're in a tank with good traction and good horsepower, you can get into places that pubbies wouldn't really expect you to. Now, a lot of these apartment areas do have alleyways running through them, so you can really slip around people without being noticed, and in later replays on this map you'll probably see me doing just that. The river path I haven't seen being utilised very much, except perhaps late game as tanks sort of migrate out that way. The rail yard to the west does actually get used a fair bit. Anyway, let's zoom all the way back in and unpause the replay. Oh, I'm still in free camera. Whoops. So pop around the corner and take the IS-8 while he's distracted. Get one into the tortoise, he gets one into me. However, he low rolls. I was really hoping he wouldn't drive forwards there, but unfortunately he did, which denied me another shot on him from the side. I was hoping he'd be flushed backwards, but unfortunately not. And so I begin looking for another shot on him. Pull back around the corner, and I managed to scrub my shot. That's okay, he's now occupied. He's got a T-71 on his flank. 71 appears to be reloading. And he tries to drive out of it towards the east, to the Volga, but it doesn't work out for him because he now has me behind him. He gets a good hit into the Indian and lights him on fire. But myself and the Indian manage to sandwich the tortoise in, and he doesn't really have a chance here. Let's see if I can get this to not be quite as stuttery. Like I said, I can't do anything about the bug introduced in 9.4, but I can at least try and make the replay not jump around as much. Now, there was a small patch put out today, about 7 megabytes I think it was, but I don't think it was a hotfix for anything. I think probably it was a special garage for Christmas or something. As you can see, these streets and these city blocks provide excellent flanking opportunities for a medium tank. There are just so many ways you can slip in behind people without them noticing. It's excellent. This is probably now the second map that I really like, the other one being Kharkov. These two maps, the two newest maps, are very well laid out. They encourage aggressive, smart play. They don't just have 3 Dota paths that you have to go down and that can be easily blockaded by high-tier tank destroyers. They have many ways you can flank around and get shots on them. This is the way Wargaming should have been designing maps right from the start of the game, basically. And, I mean, it's taken them long enough, but at least they finally figured it out. Unfortunately, I can't get the ram there on the Chiri. The T-28 takes him before I can get close enough. But we end up with a pretty comfortable game on this brand new map, and I think a decent demonstration of why I like it. Now, as a point of interest for those of you who do have an interest in the Eastern Front and its history and are interested in the Battle of Stalingrad in particular, if you look around online, there are actually a number of, not just photos, but some of the original hand-drawn maps. A long time ago, while I was reading through the Tripwire forums, looking at the original thread for the custom map, Pavlov's House for Red Orchestra Ostfront, I actually found a post where somebody had got hold of a scan of the map drawn in, I think it was November 25th, 1942, when a relief force arrived, by Sergeant Pavlov himself. And it actually showed the layout of all the buildings, the relative positions of the Soviet and German troops, minefields, trench works, rubble piles, everything. It was a really good detailed map, and so that's what I'm basing my sort of comments on how accurate this is. That's what I'm basing them on. The layout of the square is certainly, it's obvious it's meant to be the 9th of January square from its position in the city, its general shape and everything, but it looks like Wargaming have moved some of the stuff around for gameplay reasons, which is understandable. They did the same thing with Kharkov, they moved some of the buildings just to get better gameplay out of it. But with that said, it's still a pretty good looking map. It's still a fairly decent representation of Stalingrad at that point. Really, the only other accurate representations I've seen are Red Orchestra Ostfront's custom map, and although Red Orchestra 2's vanilla map I don't like for various reasons, it at least has most of the layout down, even if it doesn't have nearly the level of fortification it should have. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more. I wish you the best of luck in the field, and I wish Wargaming would fix this annoying fucking replay bug. But in the meantime, I'll see you later.